Hey, this is Kelly from the Dolly Rots, and you are listening to Our Brains Hurt.
Well, they needed a jingle for their stupid little show, so they called up the Jasons and we said, fuck no. Then they called us again and they gave us $20 and we wrote them a song that said, your podcast sucks. Then they gave us more money and they asked us really nice and we finally gave in and we said, alright, I'll write you a song, but it's gonna be a clone of a Screeching Weasel song that we heard a while ago. So we wrote them a jingle and it sounded really rad. It was the best little jingle that their podcast ever had, but the file got corrupted and the email didn't work. Now they're stuck without a jingle singing Our Brains Hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. Our brains hurt, our brains hurt, our brains hurt. In a very non-copyright infringing sort of way.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Our Brains Hurt. Real quick, if you're in the DC area, on May 11th, we're having Kepi Gooley come out to the pie shop with openers, the Stivs, who are members of the Huntingtons, and Dickie Devil and the Deviants from Philly. That's May 11th. Kepi Gooley at the pie shop in DC. Go to pieshopdc.com or go to ourbrainshurt.com and click on events and then click on the flyer for tickets. This episode is brought to you by PunkBox. Head over to punkboxrocks.com. That's punkboxrocks.com for your monthly subscription service to punk rock merch. Everything you would find at a punk rock merch table at a punk show, sent to your house once a month. This could include stickers, button patches, koozies, vinyl, cassettes, CDs, everything you could think of. Once a month. It's an awesome subscription service. punkboxrocks.com. This show is also brought to you by Merch Slut. Head over to merchslut.com for awesome band t-shirts, punk rock band t-shirts. Merch Slut gets her shirts directly from the band or the label. These are not cheap knockoffs. She also has a wide array of awesome punk rock merch. Merchslut.com. Now, let's get to the show. Tonight we are talking to Bill Stevenson. That's all that needs to be said about that.
Yep, that's it. You know who he is. In this corner, yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who's in the other corner. Bill Stevenson wins.
That's right. This is the third person from my Mount Rushmore.
First person
we have on the show,
I think. No, second, because Ben Weasel's on there.
Right. Yep. Ben, Pat Mike, and now Bill Stevenson.
Yeah, I've still got Greg Graffin and Keith Morris.
Yeah. I have Johnny Ramone, which is going to be tough.
Yeah. I'll put in a call for you. You might have to be patient.
Yeah. We'll get there. First, we have to get really big in this dimension. And
he's all business, man. He'll answer eventually.
He will.
Yeah.
I do have a distant cousin who's becoming a saint through the Catholic Church right now.
Oh.
So maybe I could plug into that.
He's like one step closer to joining a cult.
No, he's dead, but the Catholic Church is the Catholic Church is making him a saint.
Oh, gotcha. Well, yeah, he can talk to Johnny then. Yeah. Just put in
Right.
How do you do that? Do you send a carrier pigeon?
I'll have to look it up. Probably pigeon, I would think.
That's how you got to contact saints. They only would be like it'd be like a carrier dove more than it would be a pigeon.
Yeah, a magical dove.
Oh no, I don't know. Maybe not. If you go by Jesus rules, it would be a pigeon because like pigeons. That's right. Pigeons are like trash.
Yeah, that's the working man of the bird world.
Jesus drank out of a fucking wooden mug, right? Or wooden chalice.
Yeah. Pigeons are blue collar birds.
Yeah, he'd be like, get this fancy ass dove out of here.
Or an owl because they're mysterious.
I do like an owl.
And they're badass. I love owls.
I do like an owl. Yeah. It's funny you bring that up. I've been in this ongoing discussion over the past like few weeks. Is it illegal to eat owl? Are they endangered? I don't think they're all endangered, but is it illegal to eat owl? I don't think you can hunt them.
I think there are like some types of owls are endangered, but not owls in general. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I'm not interested in eating an owl. Like that just seems like a weird thing to do because owls are fucking cool. Not that cows aren't cool, but you know. I'm sure there's people, outdoorsmen, survivalists who have shot and killed owls on accident, like hunting others. Oh shit, I just shot an owl. Well, we can't let it go to waste. You eat it, right?
How would you accidentally shoot an owl?
Maybe
They're in the
like,
trees at night.
well, if you were like hunting like some other
What?
sort of fowl,
Bats
people hunt
or
birds.
jack-o'-lanterns?
People hunt birds. Like an owl takes off or something, and you're like, oh shit, there's one. Boom. Oh fuck, that was an owl.
That's an owl. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah,
that has to have had happened somewhere.
Yeah, maybe if you're doing some nighttime skeet shooting.
Well, I don't think that's the owls don't only come out at night. There could be an instance where you scared one out of its nest or something.
Or a burr owl.
During the day, you're like hunting like some other sort of bird. I don't know. People go quail hunting, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Duck hunting, obviously.
Yeah, and you shoot in the general direction of where an owl's nest is. They get spooked.
I would be willing to bet that an accidental shooting of an owl has never happened.
Really?
But I would be willing to bet that the eating of an owl has happened.
100%. The eating of an owl has happened. 100%.
Oh, Bill's in the room. On that note.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Wait, when you turn the camera around, which side's the camera? Okay, that side, right? Not that side. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you got it.
I'm a novice. I'm a Zoom novice.
Zoom can be funky at times.
Yeah.
So.
They refuse to make things simple.
No, I think it's kind of like okay, like if my cable TV or whatever doesn't work or something, I immediately just yell for my son, It's kind of like it's that stuff's all for the the under 50 crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Come on. Wait, where did we say the camera thing is? It's that. Okay.
Yeah, I see your finger, yeah.
Give me a break, man. Okay. Okay, wait. I know what. Oh, I know what. I know what. I know what. Well, I got it. No, I got it. Okay.
we live and die by technology.
Yeah. Now I got it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those are some cool posters on there. I don't have anything interesting on my wall, do I?
That's okay. I
saw
either.
an all poster on the side of your wall or a picture.
We could face Charlie Parker. or let's see if we can face Charlie Parker. Let me see. Can you see? Can you see Charlie Parker?
Yeah.
Yep.
Or how about if we face Thelonious Monk?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Thelonious. That's a good one. I rewatched Filmage today. And I just wanted to ask you, like, when you first started writing music, which music were you listening to? What bands were you listening to that kind of got you into the style of music that was in your head? Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a cool thing to talk about. Well, when I first started coming up with musical ideas, I think I was pretty fixated on like The Last and the Alley Cats and maybe Ramones and Black Flag and X, and as far as because I think a lot of people are this way. Those bands were, you felt like, okay, if I practice and a little bit, I could probably do something in that vein. Whereas if you hear like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, it's like, well, no, I can't do anything in that vein. That's for somebody else who's way better than me. So yeah, I think for the song structure, song structure, song approach. We were just really into that band, The Last. But we liked, Alley Cats had that way of playing with that kind of, it sounded like the Batman song, like that. And we really loved that. And that drummer, he even did that thing.
Yeah.
That stuff. So that stuff was, we liked that. And so I suppose when I was first writing songs, which would have been My Edge and Bike Edge were my first two, they were heavily influenced by The Last and by the Alley Cats. I had a bass, that I dug out of my neighbor's trash on trash day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had my grandpa's old acoustic guitar. And so I would write on those two back and forth. And when you take two tape decks and you play the little like courtroom tape decks with the 5 buttons on them, big buttons. Right. So, you'd record. So I'd record the bass onto the cassette deck, and then I'd play the cassette deck with the bass and play along with it on guitar onto the other cassette deck. And that was kind of how I'd sing while I was doing it. Because it seemed like if you go too many generations of that, you really just lose everything. It's just
Yeah.
But I was used to doing that stuff with the tape decks because that's how also I would tape Rodney's show, Rodney on the Rock, on KROQ. He had his specialty show, came on pretty late at night, and I would tape his show. I didn't have a way to tape it direct, so I would just put the little courtroom tape recorder. I would just set it in front of the speakers and tape Rodney. So that was kind of like how we passed things back and forth. If we made mixtapes for each other and that kind of thing. Yeah,
that's cool.
I don't know.
It's pre-internet, before the internet. This is how it was done.
That's right.
Yeah.
The young people will never know the struggle of waiting for your favorite song to come on the radio so you could hit record.
Yeah, waiting with the tape.
Yeah. And then you missed the first few bars. Yeah,
or the DJ is talking through the first part of it.
Oh yeah. If the DJ talks over the lame part, I don't mind, but
right,
if you talk over an important part, you kind of want to kill them.
How did you get introduced to all those bands?
Frank and Keith and Tony. So the South Bay punk scene, it goes back before punk rock, because I used to go to the fishing tackle store there at the foot of the Hermosa Pier when I was a little kid. And Keith's dad owned that tackle store. So Keith was working in it like when he was a teenager. So say I'm 7 and he's 16 or whatever. I'm 9 and he's 16 or however it works out. And I don't know. I don't know what the age difference is. Say I was a pre-tween and he was a teen or something. And so I'd go in there to get bait or tackle. We befriended each other, but then when I got a little older, like say when I got 12, 13, he started telling me about bands to check out. He was the first person that told me to check out, like something like Devo or either the Cars or Television or the Stooges, even stuff like the Kinks or the Seeds or the Sweet. So those are before punk rock.
Yeah.
And so I got that from Keith, and then Frank and Dave Nolte. Dave Nolte from The Last, man. He made me this mixtape that was, man, it had everything on there. It had MC5 and the Saints and Slaughter and the Dogs and it had everything. And that was a big but it also had like Pushing Too Hard by the Seeds, or like the Animals, something like that. It had songs by the Animals. And that was a good one. And Frank would always direct me towards stuff too. But then at high school, there was the 6 of us, I think 6. There was me and Frank and Dave Nolte. And then there was Mars Mars and Randy and Janet and Michelle. And that was all the punk rockers at our school.
All 6 of you.
And I wasn't even really, and I guess that was 8, right? Me and Dave and Frank, Dave and Frank, Mars and Randy, Janet and Michelle. So 7 of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't qualify as a punk rocker. In fact, they forced me to quit listening to like Aerosmith and Black Sabbath, but I never did.
What years would have this been?
78, 79. I think it's funny, by 1980, I feel like our little crew there on the bleachers, some of us had kind of gone our separate ways a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. That's a really good question. I wish David Nolte would know. He could tell me. He has a really good memory of everything from back then.
Yeah, God, it's like 43, 44 years ago. That's a long time to remember.
2 craniotomies ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first show you ever attended?
Well, like show or like when I say a show, I think punk rock.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If you mean actual rock concerts or pop or anything, which kind do you mean?
Punk rock show.
Yeah. It was the Go-Go's, the Crowd, and the Flyboys, I think, at the Mask.
Man, the Go-Go's.
And that was when the Go-Go's were great back then. They were a punk band.
Yeah.
You can hear what they sounded like. If you want to know what they sounded like, listen to their thing called Return to the Valley of the Go-Go's.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one part in there where there's demos. There was their first recordings, demos of Lust to Love, Skid Marks on My Heart, Cool Jerk, 2 other ones. And that's really what they sounded like. They were a great punk band.
You're actually not the first person I've heard say that. I've definitely been pointed in that direction before.
Oh, you have you have to hear these because you won't believe how great they sound. It's weird. It kind of almost sounds like similar to like how Milo Goes to College sounds or whatever, like that kind of thing. It's not. I don't mean punk like the Germs, but I mean they definitely don't sound like a pop band.
Right.
I want to look up. I want to tell you where I'm going to tell you because it's a chunk of 5 songs in a row that those are like those are the first demos that Rodney used to play. They're really good. I'm going to look it up, but you can keep going while I'm looking it up. I never know whether Go-Go's is one word or not. It's go-go.
Yeah, go-go.
Yeah, is that how it is at the whatever you call it, a cabaret thing or whatever? That's probably not the right word. I'm going to get canceled, right? Well, no matter what you say, you're going to get canceled. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
But only for like a week or two because people have short memories.
Oh, then they let you back in the fold?
Yeah. That's how it works now.
Is that like when Brian joined Junkyard, but then everybody let him back into the fold?
Yeah, this isn't like 2020 canceled anymore. This is 2023. We're in the future now.
Yeah.
The Go-Go's album, is it maybe the Beauty and the Beat 30th?
No, I'm telling you, it's called Return to the Valley of the Go-Go's. I'm gonna find these things and I'm gonna tell you what track numbers they are. Oh yeah. Oh, here it is. Here it is. So starting with track 11, but then then 12. So yeah, how much more? How much more? Cool Jerk, Lust to Love, Skid Marks on My Heart, those right in there. This Town, right in there, those ones. I
got it right here in front of me on Spotify too. That's marked down to listen to as soon as we're done.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Since you are talking about them kind of being like almost more poppy kind of punk stuff, and you mentioned Milo Goes to College. did Miles go to college? Did it kind of hit you as like it hit a lot of other people? Like, did you guys realize what you kind of had done at the time? Because I know people look back at it now and say, that's a very, very defining record in punk rock, at least.
I don't really think so. I mean, when you're that young, you do have that, or at least I did. I had a pretty big out of hand ego when I was in my like late teens, early 20s. I just, I thought I was like the best thing in the whole world or something, or maybe I was just fronting. But but I mean, no, we didn't think, oh yeah, this is like a really important record. I don't think anybody does, do they? You go in there and you've got your songs. Hey, here's my song, here's your song, and you play them and you record them. I don't know. I wouldn't trust a band that was that self-aware.
Well, maybe not completely that self-aware, but like, did you guys ever, have that like internal conversation with each other of like, hey, we may have stumbled across something here?
No, absolutely not. All we knew is that that we practiced really hard and we went in and recorded the songs, and that it sounded like what we sounded like, which is cool. Because that wasn't really a produced thing per se. I mean, we did the whole album in like 2 full days, and then like 3 or 4 after school evenings for the vocals, and that was it. No piddling around. No overdubs,
Yeah. What happened with all the because I guess it was from the same era, right? That the album you guys put out a few years ago, that was what is it?
Ninth and Walnut.
Yeah, Ninth and Walnut. What happened with all that stuff? Because that's like same era, right?
It's pre that. So, okay, Ninth and Walnut. That's our very, very first batch of songs.
Yeah.
And I mean, so like first day of Descendents practice, the songs we played are on Ninth and Walnut.
Awesome.
But so by the time we kind of got our shit together, I guess we were kind of sick of those songs and we were writing new songs, Yeah. And so those Ninth and Walnut songs, they all kind of got abandoned. And it wasn't until years later, Tony and Frank and I were hanging out, and Tony's like, "Hey, why don't we record all of our first songs that we first learned how to play?" And we're like, yeah, let's do it. So we eventually did it.
Oh, so you guys never even had recordings of those back when you first did them?
No, wow. We have practice tapes. It was funny. Do you remember? You probably don't. Do you remember when they made 8-track decks? You know what an 8-track cartridge is?
Oh yeah.
I had an 8-track cartridge that you could record onto. And I have two different Descendents practice from 1979 or 8 that are recorded onto like an 8-track cartridge. So right in the middle of the song, a clunk, you know how it clunks over. But that's those songs. Those are our first songs. First song I ever played with Descendents. Pretty sure the first time me and Frank and Tony played, it was that song "Like the Way I Know," and maybe Crepe Suzette after that, and Grudge, and then maybe Parents. Now Parents did end up on My Goes to College. Parents was one of our first songs. Yeah.
When did you guys, if you can remember at all, start getting like, all the people talking to you about Milo Goes to College, being like, "Oh man, like this album changed the way I think about music," or whatever it was? They, I'm sure people have said to you 1.5 million times. Do you remember what time period all that started happening? Because I know I've heard it a ton. You have to.
I feel like it was just kind of a long, slow ramp up of interest. Descendents have never been like hugely famous. It's just kind of been a long, steady ramp up, and I can't think of a defining moment really. I mean, maybe two milestones were like when we released Everything Sucks. Epitaph did just a massive amount of promotion for that.
Mhm.
And so there was a lot of attention on us. And at that time, I think our interest raised up. And so probably a lot of time people are like, oh, you like Everything Sucks? Oh, you should hear the real stuff. You should hear the
Yeah.
early days. Everyone says that about every band.
Yeah,
know,
it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And so people found out a lot about it then. And then I think another big thing was after my brain surgery, you know, we started doing shows again after not having done any in basically what let's see, 2010. In 14 years, we hadn't done any shows in 14 years. And we started doing shows again. And then there was really a big resurgence in interest. I don't really know why, but those would be the two kind of obvious step ups of interest.
Yeah, because I know I went and saw you guys. I think it was the Everything Sucks tour. I was like 16 or something. And I knew who you were, but I wasn't like, you know, I was just starting to really branch out in punk rock. And seeing you guys play on that tour, I was like, oh my God, these guys have to be super famous because there was so many people there and everybody was just going crazy. But hey,
so where was it? What city or something?
Washington, D.C., the 930 Club. It was like you guys.
The new 930, right? Not the old one.
Correct. That would have been like the very early new 930 Club because it was you guys, Less Than Jake and Guttermouth, I believe. But it was yeah. And so I guess Epitaph would have had to have a solid amount to do with that. I mean, you guys would have been like, I think it was that one of the first tours you guys did outside of like coming off a bunch of like all years.
Like what you're saying, 96, 97?
It's not, I think it was 96. I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
96.
Yeah. We hadn't played shows since 87.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So that would make sense. It
had been, so we've had basically we've had two different 10-year hiatuses. Is it hiatuses? It's not hiati, is it?
Hiati.
It is now.
Hiatuses?
Nope, it's hiati. We've changed. No. Yep. We've rewritten the dictionary.
Like, you know, like octopuses, octopi, hiatuses. Is it?
I'm going to say hiati for the rest of my life now.
Yeah, I saw All before I saw Descendents. I saw All. I think, Matt, you were at that show too. It was Pennywise, All, and Strung Out.
Strung Out.
At the Capitol Ballroom in DC.
Oh, I remember that tour.
Yeah.
It was a good show.
The first time I saw the Descendents was actually in 2015 at the Guarbecue in Virginia when you played with all those metal bands, Guar.
Oh, the Guarbecue. Did Lamb of God play?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a huge fan since like Everything Sucks, and that was the first time. I've never seen NoFX live, and I've been a huge fan of theirs forever, and I'm never going to get to see them because they're not coming on the East Coast, their final tour.
Oh, did NoFX play the Guarbecue?
No, but I'm saying I never saw NoFX. Like they've been one of my favorite bands for my entire life, and for some reason I've just and now this is their last year.
Where do you live now?
I'm in Maryland.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you could do a little road trip.
Yeah, we'll have to go to Ohio. That's the closest.
And we're playing with them at that one. We're playing with them at that one.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
You should do a little road trip.
Yeah.
What's the date of that? Because
I think it's June 24th and 25th, something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Because I think I was remembering my girlfriend saying something about maybe wanting to go for her birthday because her birthday is the 24th.
Yeah. Yeah, I might try to go because I think they're playing in LA in October. Those are the last shows. And my brother's in LA, so I might try to go to that too. I don't know.
You should.
See. Yeah.
The week before that, we're doing shows in that area with the Circle Jerks.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, you can make a little weekend of it. Get a cooler, get a cooler full of beer, and so forth. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
especially if you're going to see the Circle Jerks.
Yeah.
That whole week before, that whole week before in June, the week before the Ohio No Effect show or the whole week and a half before we're doing shows with the Circle Jerks.
Just in the Midwest?
Yeah, I can't. It's weird. I can't move my phone to look at the dates. I bet you I can. Oh, I know how I can find them. I'm gonna find them.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
So
I'm sure
it's
they're
there.
online, right?
Yeah.
You've toured with the Circle Jerks before, right? You had to have the Descendents at least.
Well, yeah, we did back in the day. Yeah. Like I said, like Keith's my oldest living friend. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's super crazy, actually, how long all of you guys have been going at this. Like, it's weird to look at now because like the punk rock scene, early, I don't know, teenagers or stuff don't seem to be gravitating towards a lot of this as much as it was in like the 80s and the 90s. At least from my experience. Your experience may be different on that, but it seems like
How old? Okay, so how old are you guys?
I'm 40. Well, I'll be 44 next month, and Ron's 45.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to be 60 this year. So
Oh, wow.
I don't have my ear as low to the ground as I used to. So I don't really know what the kids are doing. I guess. I mean, it seems like hip hop and its derivatives have really kind of inculcated themselves. I don't hear as many Marshall guitars, or you know what I mean if I say that, like a dirty guitars. I don't hear as many of those just in life as I used to.
Right.
But whatever. Punk rock started in somebody's garage and it'll end there. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking at these. Okay, I'm looking at these dates. So it's we're like well, wait, I'm not even supposed to say that. I can't say it because they haven't been announced yet, but I'll get in trouble.
All
But
right.
but basically, we're in the kind of like we're in the Pennsylvania, Michigan area, up in there in right before the Columbus show.
All right, cool.
That's
That's
no
not too-
effects.
That's not too bad. Pennsylvania's pretty close, Ron.
Yeah. So, since we talked about all, when you wrote songs, was there any like conscious effort to make it not a Descendant song, or were you just constantly writing whatever was in your head, no matter, you know what I mean?
No, because we kind of been all over the place. There's superficially you could kind of make an argument that the Descendants stuff is kind of more straight ahead, and the all stuff is a little more proggy, But then, like, what about the blue record? The Descendants, the blue record, Descendants All. That's got In My Van on there, and All Logistics, and Schizophrenia, and all those crazy things, and that instrumental Uranus. That's our most proggy stuff. And then All has some very straight ahead stuff too. So no, it doesn't. It's not really. It's all kind of one thing to me. But the chemistry of having one different person in the band, well, that affects it. That affects it by whatever 25%, or would it affect it by 33%?
That's a good question. I don't know.
It would affect it by 25%. Yeah,
25%. Yeah.
If you take away the one person, then it's just three of us. Yeah, I'd say 25%.
What was the relationship like with Milo during the all years? Were you guys still close, or was there any like,
Yeah, we're very close. There was never any kind of a bad thing there.
Okay, cool.
Milo is the dearest person to me, and he has weathered my worst periods of my life, my worst bullshit. He has been a much better friend to me than I deserve.
And he was just in the neighborhood. Is that how you met him? Like,
we all went to the same high school.
Okay.
And he went to our high school, and at a certain point, he started showing up because where we lived, where we went to high school, and where we practiced, those things were all a half mile from each other.
Yeah.
But he started just showing up at our practices. And he showed up. I mean, he went to our practice a lot of times. and Frank and Tony they didn't like the idea of having to always keep playing and singing. They wanted to just play and not sing. And one day Frank just goes, "Fuck it, let's get Milo to sing." And there was that, and then Milo started singing, and that was it. I remember it like it was yesterday.
That's oddly familiar. That is literally the same way I entered being in a punk rock band. I went to my friends' practices over and over and over again, and one of them was like, "Matt, why don't you sing?" And then I did. That's literally.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What kind of practice regimen did you guys have? Because I know we talked to Fatty a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about how, he was talking about No Effects coming to an end and how he just doesn't have the practicing in him anymore. And he kept bringing up Descendents. He's like, those guys practice all the time. We would practice for a half an hour before a tour and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, I would say he probably for a story like that, he would be exaggerating on both ends.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, No Effects are all expert players.
Oh yeah.
Fatty comes off casual and all that. He is an excellent player, not only bass, guitar as well. Those guys are great. But for us, I would say our routine in the early days was 4 days a week.
Whew.
Wow.
And I mean like steady 4 days a week. We would try to not ever let that fail. But that was really when we were learning how to play and learning how to get good.
Mm-hmm.
4 days a week. And then I would say it's always been around that. Back then, because we were in high school and then people had normal jobs and things like that, it was 4 days a week based on the shape of a week with the weekdays and the weekends. I don't remember how it played out, but nowadays it's 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, just forever. 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 2, and then 1 day to heal the muscles, then 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. That's like our forever pattern.
Still to this day, you do that.
Yeah. I mean, if we're off, we're off. Like over the Christmas holidays, we're off. Then it's nothing. But I mean, when we're getting ready for shows, so we've got shows starting in mid-May.
Mm-hmm.
So Carl and I, we recently started back up here, and so 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off. Yeah.
Would you suggest that as an advice to any young band that was trying to, become a band as a career?
Touring band?
You give the same advice to them as what you do, as far as like practicing and the regimen you guys go through? Or would your advice be different?
I think it would be hard to prescribe a regimen, because I think that bands they're all different depending on what they sound like. Like, let's say, I'm just gonna kind of throw an extreme out there, but I could see the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Like, I could see them practicing for like 8 hours, and they're all high as shit on acid and stuff, and they play for 8 hours straight one day, and then they might not see each other for 3 or 4 days, and then they might do that again. I don't know what their practice schedule is, but what I'm doing is I'm throwing out a kind of a counter position to how we do things. Our music is there's a lot of kind of accuracy and precision involved in it. And so it's kind of like you really have to get that muscle memory up there. And there's the individual muscle memory, but then there's the band muscle memory. So of just really refining going through and making sure everything's really locked in. But I can't say that every band would be that way. I don't know how it would be for, a band maybe that plays slower or, whatever. Well, our practice thing nowadays, it's quite interesting.
You guys are all over
So-
the place, right?
Yeah, because we don't live in the same state. Like Carl and I still live in the same town. So Carl and I, and this is how it's been. This isn't a new thing. I'm saying it's been this way for 20 years. Okay, but so what it is Carl and I have two ways that we practice. One way, I don't know if people are going to be bored to tears by this, but I mean, you asked me the question,
No, it's
so
cool.
I'm going to
No,
answer.
no, we're interested.
Carl and I have two ways we practice. One way is the ruthless, demoralizing, no fun way, like being in the Navy SEALs. And that is, I created a master matrix of about 60 songs where I went through and I reverse engineered all the tempos to a click. In other words, none of our albums were done with a metronome, really. They're all just done in free time. But so I reverse engineered a metronome that plays along with those original versions perfectly. So the metronome changes tempos in a natural ebb and flow the way that we do on the recordings. Like as opposed to, metronome. When you think of a metronome, you think of one tempo. No, this is where I've made a metronome accommodate the original versions. So that's called a tempo map, up and down, and this way a little bit and that way a little bit. All right. So I have about 60 songs that way, and it's about 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's the metronome and Stefan's guitar and Milo's vocal. And then Carl and I play bass and drums along with that. So I just hit space bar, loop, and then 2 hours later it's done. And it doesn't care. It does not care if you got tired. It does not care if you fell out of tune. It does not care if you dropped a stick. It does not care if you have to stop and pick your nose. It does not care. It just keeps going. And so when we finish those practices, it's just like, it's demoralizing, but it makes it so we can pull this stuff off at our advanced age and not, how when old bands sound like old bands, we still just sound like we're kicking ass because we are kicking ass. And so that's one way we practice. Okay, with that prelay, the click and the guitar and the vocal. Then the other way we practice is way more fun, loose and fun. And fun is our longtime best friend, Grover. He has been for 13 years now. He's been coming over and stunt doubling on guitar. So when we do that, there's no metronome, there's no nothing. It's just me and Carl and Grover playing through the songs at whatever speed we feel like it. If I have a hangover, they're going a little bit slower. If I drank too much coffee, they're going a little bit faster. If I want to stop in the middle and tell a joke, we do that. So we practice those two very different ways, and we try to split it up about half and half, and that keeps us really in shape. So then when we land, Milo practices with his instrumental mixes. He's got a little studio in his basement, and Stefan, Stefan's really the timekeeper of our band. He's really got the best meter. He practices them just a cappella, just into the open air. And Stefan, it's funny. I could count on 10 fingers how many mistakes Stefan has made in concerts the whole time I've known him. He's just a beast. And so we get off the plane, and Carl and I are like soldiers. and then we get together and we do a long sound check. We don't play Descendents songs at the sound check, though. We do what we would normally do for the first 30 minutes of practice, which is we play Germ songs and X and Adolescence and Agent Orange and, the Middle Class. And we do that stuff. And then we're ready, then we're ready. We're like locked in.
So you went through and mapped 2 hours worth of like off time to essentially somewhat of a different.
Well, I mean, they're not off time. You're talking about me like I'm not even in the room.
No, well, maybe off time is the wrong word, but you mapped out different tempos. How tedious was that?
It's like a mad scientist.
Not that tedious because, you know, as a record producer, I have to do that all the time. When bands send me demos, I try to get them to send me demos that aren't tethered to a metronome, because I like to get a sense of what the natural ebb and flow of the songs are. Because for pop music, it's all one tempo, right? But this isn't pop music.
Mhm.
There's the arc of things that, you know, there's the energy of thing. When the breakdown comes in, you might want it to get a little slower. But if the breakdown comes in and the drums go to halftime, well, you might want the tempo to pick up a little bit to make up for the fact that you've moved to a halftime beat. And all these little things that if you just press click on go on a metronome, you disregard all of that. No, it doesn't take me long. It takes me maybe 40 minutes per song to go through and get all the tempo markers in there. Maybe could take 10 minutes, could take an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not as arduous of a process because I have a good system for doing it. I put a marker in about every 2 or 3 bars.
Awesome.
And then because the tempo does it. What do they call that? Mission creep.
Yeah.
The tempo creeps around a little, because I'm not a machine. Yeah. I'm not a machine. Yeah.
Well, I guess this is why you get the best out of all the bands in the studio, man.
Yeah.
That is I don't know. That just doing it myself for a whole bunch. I would have never even thought about doing something like that. Just all the bands I've ever seen record, just metronome and go.
No. Because I feel like I want that practice room demo, that sweaty, imperfect practice room demo. Because I want to look at that. I feel like that's the closest I'm ever going to get to if I'm producing a band or with our band. That's why we practice that way, because that's real. That's real. But I feel like it's the closest I'm going to get to what do I mean? Capturing the animal in its natural habitat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if you just fire up a click, you're not going to find the thing. You might find the clothes that it was wearing when it was last seen, but it left. It's gone. And so I'll get untethered demos and go through and map them out, and then it's my job. Then let's say with Rise Against or whoever, and then to say, well, okay, what were they trying to do? Because I know right here where the drummer just got really tired and the song slowed down 10 beats a minute. I know that's not intentional. So I don't want to recreate that on their album. Mm-hmm. But I did notice that every time they go to the chorus, they seem to bump it up about 2 or 3 beats per minute. And I think they like that, and they're doing that on purpose. And I want to acknowledge that and respect that. Where is it written that a song has to be one tempo? Like what, why, how?
Yeah, that's shit, man. And that's the art right there. That's it.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing that I think a lot of people try to do and search for. And for whatever reason, you're the one that has the knack to do it. And that's rad. Cause like shit, I don't think I've ever heard a recording coming out of your studio that I wasn't super impressed with.
But the thing is, you'll listen to the song and you'll think it's just one tempo because it just sounds natural. It sounds natural how the good Lord intended it to sound. Mm-hmm. And that sounds like one tempo most times. If it's an abrupt thing where you got a slow part, and then a fast part, well, that's different. But I mean, generally speaking, I'll be moving things around a little bit between the verse and the pre-chorus, and then a little bit between the pre-chorus and the chorus, and then into the re-intro, maybe a different thing happens, and then back into the verse. And it's all kind of based on, too, a lot of times the guitar riffs, like a guitar riff will need a little more room to breathe than the riff prior to it. If it's a little busy and it's got a little more subdivisions, you got to let that breathe a little bit, or you're cramping it up. You're making it sound unnatural.
Love the advice too.
Yeah.
moving forward, like things to think about going in the studio, you know?
I'm going to ask you these 3 questions that we ask everybody, not necessarily music related. First question is, if you were on death row, what would your final meal be?
Oh, death row, huh? Death row.
You know, nowadays it could be firing squad again. You don't
Tommy's.
know.
Tommy's?
Tommy Burger. Look up original Tommy Burger. Like they're in California, you know. There's some elsewhere, but that would be a Tommy's chili cheeseburger for sure.
Oh, I'm looking this up.
I never heard of Tommy's.
Oh no, it's beautiful. Do you guys ever go to Punk Rock Bowling?
I haven't been yet, no, but is there one in Vegas?
Yeah, there's one in Vegas.
Oh, sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, the last one I went to was in Vegas.
Sweet.
Oh, there it is, right there.
I'm going to Punk Rock Bowling this year just as a spectator.
Awesome.
I don't have to. I don't have any shows, but I will be going to Tommy's.
The first thing that popped up when I looked it up too was the chili cheeseburger.
Oh, it's just zoom in on it and just look how horrendous it is.
Oh, I'm into this. Oh my God.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I'm into this.
Yeah.
That's cool.
All right. I would make them do me like a trifecta. I would make them do me a Wiener Schnitzel chili cheese dog.
Nice.
And a Tommy's chili cheese burger. And that would be, I couldn't ask for better than that.
Yeah. It's funny how the shittiest stuff tastes so fucking amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, those Wiener Schnitzel dogs, like that's not even, I don't even think that's real food. It's like, it's kind of like heated up goop or something.
But it tastes amazing.
Yeah. Have you had Wiener Schnitzel?
I've never had Wiener Schnitzel, so we have like Nathan's in the Northeast.
Oh yeah, Nathan's, sure.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But
I've had Wiener Schnitzel. Wiener Schnitzel is good.
Yeah. Okay, wait. What was the other question?
Okay, second question is this is so one of the things they could do now, they actually do this if you wanted to. If you get cremated, they could take your ashes and form it into a vinyl record. So if you were going to have your ashes eternalized in an album of your choice, which would you pick?
Oh, these are the worst. I can't never do these. I can never do these right.
Well, you know, it changes on like a weekly basis. So like,
yeah, it really does.
It's depending on whatever your mood is right now, really.
Right now, my mood, right this minute. Yeah. How about that First Generation X album?
That's a good one.
Sweet.
That's a good one.
Oh,
and
boy.
I think that's the first time anybody said that answer to this question.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That record is a bruiser, man.
It is. That's a solid choice. That is a great record.
All right. Third and final question is who is on your Mount Rushmore of punk rock? And you get 5 people because you get a crazy horse too. So
oh, okay. Okay, well, let's see. Mount Rushmore.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be punk rock. It could just be like music or rock or whatever. But you know, if there's somebody you consider punk that might not have been exactly in a punk band, you know, it doesn't matter.
Okay, how about Ornette Coleman, Joe Nolte, Cole Porter, Greg Ginn from Black Flag, and Neil Young from Neil Young.
nice. Awesome. Well, Bill, thanks so much for doing this. I appreciate you taking the time out.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. It's been fun. I feel like I'm finally getting good at these in a way. I've been listening to this. Been listening to this podcast called Tommy, Hector, and Loretta podcast. And it's they're so informal.
Uh-huh.
And I like it so much.
Yeah.
It's like the more informal and off topic they get, the more I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually when the most interesting things are brought up.
So I'm trying to be better at that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Instead of staying on script. I'll let you guys go, and thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, have a good rest of your day.
All right, you too. Take
You
care.
as well. Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks for hanging out for another week. Be sure to check out punkboxrocks.com and merchslut.com. Check us out on all social media outlets at Our Brains Hurt and at ourbrainshurt.com. We will talk to you next week. Stay safe. Adios.
How do I do this shit? I can still hear you. So what do I have to press? Close.